Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in the position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Olin Buchanan's goal for today in this Go Hour is to give me a new clip that I can put in our intro, because I've been informed OB would rather have something else other than we're moving on up. It's like our studio. That's what you were talking about, our studio.
I didn't know you were going to make it public, but okay. The one, my quote that I wish that, we could put on there, and I know that you can't, but is the one where I was talking about, all the big swingers on the A&M baseball team and had so many big swingers, you wonder why Schlossnagle left. I was kind of proud of that one.
I mean, yeah.
And then one time,
very much a banger, but
we were picking and they won't let you use the one where we were picking the Michigan game that time.
Oh,
against
with USC. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
I thought that was one of my better.
100%.
Of the head, but I'm sure the management will frown at that every day, right?
I bring it public just because I'm the one that put that in there. I was like, well,
I didn't realize.
I didn't know OB didn't like the way I was representing him. So I will for now, going forward, I'm listening for something good to replace it with. But welcome into TexAgs Live, everyone. Nick Savage here filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back tomorrow. This is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We're inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. And, of course, Olin Buchanan always on the Go Hour. And OB, kind of an eventful weekend for college sports and Aggie-related things, and we'll get into all that here in the Go Hour. But I think first and foremost, I think it's good to start off with the CWS Finals, Game 2 on yesterday.
Yesterday.
And the umpire is the story that everyone seems to be, talking about. Angel Campos, and
it's more like Angel Compost with the decision he made in the first inning.
Yeah.
If you don't know, there were 3 very arguable pitches to start the game.
In the bottom of the first inning.
Bottom of the first.
Yep.
And the Coastal Carolina coach has had enough. And his team is in an elimination game for the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seeing 3 consecutive calls that are arguably went against him, probably did. And like a basketball coach working the officials, he's trying to get the umpire's attention to say, we got to let him know that, we're disagreeing here because we got a whole 9 innings to go to try to win a national championship. By the way, everybody, I think, who listens to the show understands where my son goes to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was rooting against Coastal Carolina for, because I knew my son was. Anyway, and this in the first inning of the national championship series, this umpire ejects the head coach for saying, you missed 3
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You've got to understand where you are, even if it's by the book, and if it is, then we need a different book.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand where you are, what event you're in, and get more grace. But I think that was at the time, I thought, man, this is an umpire on an ego trip.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started finding out more about him, and he got run out of the major leagues because he was so thin-skinned and quick to eject guys. Then it turns out he ejected somebody in the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
for
a
something
Clemson player.
ridiculous.
Yeah, Jess put down some good notes about Campos. He umpired in the major leagues for 7 years, 585 games. He's issued 23 ejections before his final MLB game in 2014. So he's been out of the majors for a while. But kind of going off what you were saying, Kevin Schnall, the manager for Coastal Carolina, in his post-game presser, he was quoted in saying, "As an umpire, I feel like it's your job to manage the national championship game with some poise, some calmness, and a little tolerance." You expect to get a little bit more chirping from dugouts and head coaches and stuff like that.
I thought it was, I thought it was just gross. I mean, again, understand what's at stake, what event you're in, and you made it about yourself. Because LSU won a national championship again, and I don't know if anybody outside of Louisiana is talking about that.
Yeah.
They're talking about this dipstick umpire. And look, and I know all the officials out there, some even local, are gonna come to his defense because they always do. Officials are like politicians in that they will never or rarely take accountability or even hold their colleagues accountable.
Yeah, and I mean,
it was just disgusting. It was gross. And if the NCAA had any cojones, which they do not, they would make sure this guy never officiate or umpires at the very least in the playoffs.
Yeah, why is it? I guess in sports in general, it always seems like the most controversial referees, umpires, whatever you want to call them. They're always in the biggest games, right? Like the Scott Foster, is that the NBA referee? That's always that everyone has a problem with. Angel Hernandez, who's retired.
If you know who the official is, with the exception of the old guy from who used to be the NFL official, Red Cashin, because he was always known for first down.
Yeah.
If you know the official's name, or Ed Hockley, because he had the big biceps. But typically, if you know who the official is, he's a bad official, or at least he probably is.
Yeah.
Because you want to be like I thought officials will tell me, the best thing is not to be even acknowledged because it's like an offensive lineman. They only
the good ones you don't know about. Yeah.
A bad mistake. But that was ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, other thing that happened most notably, I don't know how much you watch the NBA Finals. I certainly am not an NBA fan by any means, but I did watch that final fourth quarter. Alex Caruso wins his second NBA title. I think he's like the fourth Aggie in 6 years to win an NBA title, and the first one with 2 in recent memory. So how cool is that for him?
Yeah, and he's won it, 2 different places.
Yep.
So you can't say, oh, he was just, there. No, he's a very integral part. And, I think what that shows is how important it is to have, that glue guy. Because a lot of teams have superstars. And superstars got to, they're obviously important. But, like the guy from the Timberwolves that everybody's talked about from Georgia, Edwards. Yeah,
Anthony
superstar. And, go out and play. But, there's got to be something else. LeBron James doesn't have a championship since
Alex Caruso left. Yeah.
So Alex Caruso in the last, 5-6 years has been on 2 different teams to win championships.
Yeah, he won it in 2020 with the Lakers. Chris Middleton won it with the Bucks in 2021. DeAndre Jordan with the Nuggets in 23, and then Caruso again in 25. He had 10 points, 3 steals last night, and had averaged 10.1 points per game in the finals.
That Gorilla Glue or Elmer's or somebody needs to get Caruso to do like a endorsement. I'm the glue guy.
Yeah, sure. And then another thing we're following, recruiting for Aggie football.
Oh, man.
Been on such a heater. Tristan Givens, 5-star defensive lineman, committed over the weekend as well. And just another commit for Mike Elko, and they're just rolling.
So in about 3 or 4 days, they got the top running back in Texas and one of the top one in the country, and KJ Edwards followed up with Brandon Arrington, and then this guy Tristan Givens. And I wish the umpiring in Omaha was as good as the recruiting in College Station.
Yeah, that would have produced a better better ball game for sure. They have 8 commitments in the month of June.
I know what a. I mean, they're getting,
and it's not over yet. Like June's not over yet. I wonder how much more is to come.
I've seen like national recruiting analysts. Not anybody local. Not that I even care what the national guys really say, but that are saying that A&M has a legitimate shot at having the number 1 class, and that's surprising to me only because. I didn't expect it. Back in, 2022, there was a lot of indications that they were trending that way. And then I just saw that last week. I'm like, really? It's that good? And right now, if you're not following it by some of the recruiting rankings, has them number 2 in the country right now. Now, hello, I'm the rain on the parade. We should have learned as much as anybody that getting a commitment doesn't mean that they're going to play here yet. Means you got that big marlin on the line. But everybody who's deep sea fished, and I haven't, but everybody who has knows getting them on the line is not the hard part. It's getting them in the boat. And especially as Tristan Givens from Columbus, Georgia, those Bulldogs and Gators and Tigers are all going to be trying to change his mind between now and December.
It's impressive with how many out-of-state guys they've gotten, but it's also kind of what you're saying. It makes me a little nervous because you never know what's going on there. But past 2 commitments, California, Georgia. I think there's about 3 Texas guys in the class, and so interesting. But hey, those are the best players that they've identified. Go and get them, no matter where they're from, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm applauding it. I'm thrilled about it. But I also, just because I've been let down so many times in the past, not by the A&M or anything, but by guys changing their mind.
Yeah.
Like just last year, there was a quarterback out of California, right, who was coming here, and then he changed his mind. So I will feel great. I will celebrate it, but I'm not going to, pop the cork until signing day.
This is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. This is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Again, I'm Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll go around the room and say hello to the entire crew. We'll start behind the glass. Cade Bickham filling in for me, punching the buttons. Cade, I know you probably want to start with the College World Series, but I'm going to steer you in a different direction here. I heard you, the first thing you had to say coming in this morning, you had to talk a little mess to Ben back there about Kevin Durant being traded to your Houston Rockets. So I know you're excited about that.
Yes. Oh, so I am excited about that. So I'm a little bit disappointed because I did like Jalen Green. There's a lot of people in the fan base that were frustrated with his inconsistency as a scorer, which is what he was supposed to be for this team. However, giving up him, Dylan Brooks, the 10th overall pick, and like a handful of second rounders is
that
great.
Just seems
it's
like
fantastic.
So much to me, though.
That's fantastic value for Kevin Durant.
I guess.
I like for a guy who's going to get you an efficient 25 a night if he's healthy. It's just something that the Rockets haven't had the last couple of seasons, like a go-to efficient guy to get buckets, especially in the playoffs. That'll be very helpful.
Again, I'm no NBA expert, but giving up, 3 players, a first-round pick, that to me, that just doesn't seem worth it for any player. But again, I don't know about NBA.
Yeah. If you're close to a championship,
and the Rockets are,
then I understand it.
Okay.
Because if you're close to a championship and you feel like this is a chance to put you over the top, you're obviously going for it now because you made that deal for a guy who's 36 years old. So how much time does he have to play at a high level? So it tells me that the Rockets feel like they're close to a championship, and we're going to go all in to win one in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Kate, we'll check in with more with you later on in the show. We'll go over to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reece Nygren is there. Reece, what do you got for us this morning?
Well, first off, I too am a Rockets fan, and I'm also very excited about the Kevin Durant trade. And the 10th overall pick was never going to play anyway because we just drafted Reed Shepherd, 3rd overall last year, and he hardly cracked the rotation. So I'm glad to see.
Okay, so y'all have convinced me.
I'm glad to see the front office make the move to try and win now as a fan. I love that move. Going to the baseball diamond, Jacob Polish makes his MLB debut for the Chicago White Sox on Saturday. He is the 65th Aggie to make it to the MLB. In 15 games in Double-A for the Birmingham Barons, he had a 4-1 record with an ERA of 1.19, striking out 35 batters across 53 innings. He pitched the 8th inning of the Saturday loss to the Blue Jays. He went 1 inning, giving up 2 earned runs, and did not strike out a batter as the White Sox lost 7-1. Former Aggie reliever Will Johnston was promoted on Sunday by the Las Vegas A's. He is a part of their organization, was promoted from their Double-A affiliate, the Midland Rockhounds, to the Triple-A affiliate, the Las Vegas Aviators. This season in Double-A, Johnson posted a 2-4 record in 20 appearances with a 3.94 ERA. He also struck out 63 batters across 45 2/3 innings.
Absolutely. So Jacob Polish just came up. It was a doubleheader, I think, that they needed an extra arm. So he came up and pitched that inning, got optioned back down to the Charlotte Knights. So he did make his debut, so that's cool. And it seems like, he's the first one to make it out of that 2022 team up to the big leagues. So
the Athletics are in Las Vegas now?
Going to be. They're the Athletics now. They're
right,
just the Athletics.
So where are they playing their home game?
You know that?
They play them in
California.
Sacramento.
Yeah, that's right.
Huh. I haven't been paying attention. I'm sorry. It's Major League Baseball.
Cade Bickham just watched the Astros play there.
I was just there. It's a fun fan experience, actually. Like I think the field, I'm not sure if the players like it very much. They have to come in from the outfield, the visiting team does. But from like a fan perspective, very cool stadium. Nice little AAA facility, yeah.
I check the Rangers scores, and that's about all I do. I don't even watch them. I just check their scores to see if they're going to make it worth my time to actually watch them.
I'm all in back on. I never left the Astros, but I don't watch them every night. But now I got to go back all in. Try to go to Richard Zane levels of obsession. So come October, if things go the right way, I can buy in, right?
Yeah, but even when I bought in a couple of years ago on the Rangers, I don't think I've ever. Even when I was years ago when I used to go to the games a lot, I was never at the level of Richard Zane obsession.
He is a true diehard fan. We'll hit a break here. On the other side, we'll get into OB's article he put out last week previewing the Texas Longhorns. We just want to ask some questions and dig a little bit deeper into the Longhorns schedule and all that good stuff. So keep it right here. You're listening to TexAgs Live here on The Zone.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
OB, I've started listening to every Led Zeppelin album from start to finish. I got through Led Zeppelin 1, their first self-titled album. That was a song from it. They are like so good. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I always thought they were good, but I've never sat and listened through the entire catalog, so I'm working on that now. Again, made it through the first one, on Led Zeppelin 2 now. Greatest rock band of all time.
Debatable, but certainly in the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a Rolling Stones guy, right?
Yeah, I'm Stones. Was the old Steve Wright joke? Stones, they've been together so long, they're great. Fred and Barney. But no, I was always partial to the Rolling Stones from that era. But yeah, Led Zeppelin's definitely in the discussion. I like the Immigrant song the best.
How does that go?
Well, it's the Robert Plant scream.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I want to hear.
Now I want to hear you do it. He does it better. He does it better than I do. Does it better than Robert Plant.
Sorry, KZ and Cade. We probably just blew out the levels there.
From the land of the there was a time when I first started working at TexAgs, being on the show, that was kind of like my intro song.
Walk-up song?
Because I came down, of course it wasn't right, from Tennessee, where they do have ice and snow for about 2 months of the year. So
I get it. I like that.
I was like the Immigrant song.
Horns hyped entering 2025 despite having multiple voids to fill is an article you put out last week talking about Texas Longhorn in a series of articles previewing.
Yeah, we've done one on all the Power 5 opponents or Power 4 opponents, however you want to call it.
This is your most recent one. So
and it was the last one because they've all been done now. And look, I mean, Texas is going to be good, really good. The question is how good. Are they going to be as good as they were last year? I think that's. I think they may. They may not. Texas has some really good players. Anthony Hill should be here. If he's like Led Zeppelin. If he's not the best linebacker in the country, he's in the discussion, right? They have good running backs.
Yep.
But I think they're the pass rusher, Colin Simmons. I mean, that guy's he could be an all-SEC, all-American type guy. I mean, they have a lot of talent. And they've recruited well, but we're going to find out how well this year.
Yeah. The quote that stuck out to me in the entire article was, the hype is largely based on potential rather than production.
Right, because we're talking about Arch Manning, for instance.
Exactly.
Arch Manning, yeah, he was the number one ranked player, not just quarterback, player in the whole country, 23 class? And he's been okay. He's been good in packages, right? They brought him in, he'd run. He had a very pedestrian showing when he started against ULM. Looked good against Mississippi State when he started that game, but Mississippi State was the worst pass defense in the SEC. But if you're playing the worst pass defense in the SEC, you should pass well if you're a good quarterback. I think he's going to be good, but is he going to be better than yours? Maybe. Is he going to be good enough?
Yeah.
I think the biggest question, and for Texas, their offensive line, it was outstanding. It was one of as a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. And they lose 4 starters. And they say, well, yeah, there's a lot of guys coming in, though, that were highly rated. Yeah, just because you're highly rated doesn't mean the next guy is as good as the last guy. Is their best left tackle, who I'm sure was highly rated, is he as good as Kelvin Banks? They have receivers, but that are supposed to be really good. I like the Wingo kid, and they brought in 2 5-star guys in this class. But is that guy or the guys they brought in going to be as good as Matthew Golden, who was a first-round draft choice? Maybe better. But and then there's same with their defensive line, especially the interior. They had really good tackles. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton was that his name? I can't think of the other guy.
Vernon Davis.
I don't know. I'd have to. Anyway, Vernon was a good defensive lineman, but are the replacements going to be as good? We'll have to wait and see. And as good as they were last year, let's remember they did not win the SEC championship. So are they SEC contenders? Certainly. Are they SEC favorites? Maybe. Are they legitimate threats for the college football playoff? Yeah, probably so.
I feel
but
like
are they as good as last year?
Yeah,
we'll see.
They got a fairly not easy, but
that's the same schedule.
It's flip, but it's obviously going to Ohio State. That's the big.
Yeah, that's a tougher game. That Michigan turned out to be an easy game, but I cannot devalue or disparage, I should say, Texas last year for playing Michigan. When they scheduled the game, Michigan was good. Mm-hmm. How did you know? Because Texas people do that to A&M a lot of times. Oh, you ever played this team? This team's like, well, they were good when you scheduled them. Mm-hmm. It's up to the other team to keep up their end of the bargain. But I do think that Ohio State is still going to be strong this year. So that's going to be a heck of a challenge for them. I think anytime you go to Georgia, by the way, Georgia has to get better than they were. So that's going to be a tough game for them. A&M's going to be a tough game for them. I don't know if Florida, you go down the schedule, I don't know how many games you look at and say, okay, that's going to be that projects to be a really tough game for them. Is Vanderbilt going to be a tough game for them? I doubt it.
Tougher than what we would have expected before last season.
Right.
For sure.
But is Vanderbilt still going to be the same? Probably not. I mean, you still got Pavia, but Mississippi State, probably not, So there's probably, Texas is going to win at least 9 games, maybe more, probably more. But they're going to be challenged, I think, more. And I want to make it clear, I'm not saying Texas is going to be good. I'm just saying there's every reason, or several reasons, to just ask the question, are they going to be as good as they were last year? You got C.J. Baxter coming back at running back, and Wisner proved himself for the 1,000-yard season last year. Mm-hmm. So they're really good at running back. But it's like A&M is. But unlike A&M, they don't have a proven offensive line. That said, because I'm trying to always be objective and look at things, from both sides. That said, we did not know this time last year that A&M was going to have a good offensive line.
Yeah. Yep.
So
we'll drop it right there on the other side. We'll get into position groups and maybe some groups that we have more confidence in, less confidence in. We'll talk about that on the other side as the Go Hour rolls on. You're listening to TexAgs Live here on The Zone.
Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuno here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it.
Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schulers. We're inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. And normally we start over at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. You got to look as we came back here. Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back here in the host chair tomorrow. Olin Buchanan is with me, as always, on the Go Hour. And OB, I wanted to talk this segment just about position groups for Aggie football that you have the most confidence in and the least confidence in. And I have 3 written down for both category, but I'll let you get the first pick.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see how you're going to compare to mine. Number 1 for the most confidence is running backs.
Yep, that's what I have too.
I feel really good about the running backs. A lot of confidence there. They're good, especially Le'Veon Moss, who's going to be back full strength. I think the next that I have the most confidence is probably that offensive line.
2 for 2.
Yeah. And then I would say, after those 2, where do I have the most confidence?
It is really up in the air, isn't it? I had to sit and think for a second, too.
I may have to actually, I'm going to say defensive line.
Okay.
I am. Because we forget how good Albert Regis was last year. And DJ Hicks is still around. I think DJ Hicks is just, I think there's star power there. I'm waiting for him to become the star, but I think there's star power there. And I've heard, Cassius Howell, and I like some of the things I saw in spring. I get it, it's spring. I'm the first guy to say spring is like walking through the desert. You don't know what's an oasis, and you don't know what's a mirage. But I think I might put defensive line there.
Okay. I have defensive line as my.
It's fair.
Yeah.
You don't
Secondly,
know. I'm thinking it's an oasis, but it might be a mirage.
All of my least.
By the way, I just made that up on the fly about the desert. I'm kind of proud of that one.
See, there might be some potential to throw that in the intro. We'll see. But what I'm saying is, all of my least confidence picks is just solely based because we don't know. Because my first pick for that group is the wide receiver group. Because you add KC Concepcion and Mario Craver, 2 good transfers. You're returning, Ashton Bethel-Roman, some other guys who haven't gotten a lot of reps. But is KC going to be that number 1 guy?
So where is this?
This is my first group with the least confidence.
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I skipped over my last pick for most confidence in, but we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from for the wide receiver group.
Okay.
Second, defensive line, kind of what we just talked about. Right. Got a lot of potential there, got to see it. And then third is the safety group. So I guess you could say defensive backs as well.
Yeah, so we're not saying secondary. We're breaking them down from
if
corners.
If you want to, you can. This is America.
Well, so the areas that I'm least confident in, okay, safeties. You got it. I don't think the safeties played extraordinarily well last year, and I think there's a lot of improvement needs to be done there. Second, I'd probably put corners. So I should
secondary,
just put secondary.
Yeah.
And I should see that's not even true.
Will Lee's a proven commodity.
Is but the other side and the nickel was a problem last year. When nickel found that, but they got it fixed because when they figured out their guy was BJ Mays, it was fine. But it took them a while to figure that. I keep seeing Arkansas guys running free, So yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to break them up. I'm going to say secondary is my biggest area of concern because the only guy that I look at and say, okay, this guy is Will Lee. I feel great about him. I feel good about Tariq Chappelle, but he's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
He'll probably come back strong. And they brought in the kid from Washington.
Jordan Shaw.
The receivers, see, here's what I'm running into. I wanted to put, I thought about putting quarterback in as my number 3 area that I felt, really good about. So I got a lot of areas where I don't feel bad. I'm just kind of open-minded. I'm open-minded about quarterback. I'm open-minded about receiver. I mean, in some areas I feel great. I feel great about running back. I feel great about offensive line. I feel good about the D line. I feel good about quarterback. I feel good about tight ends.
We haven't talked at all about linebackers. That's my third most confidence. And just because
in linebackers, it's kind of the same. I thought the linebackers were somewhat average last year. I thought they were better as a group when Scooby Williams was out there playing, but he was in and out. So let me ask you this. I did not think that linebacker play last year was championship level.
No, I completely agree with you.
And so I try to look at everything, and maybe this is where I'm going wrong on this exercise here. I try to look through everything is it championship level? I think the running backs are championship level. I think the offensive line is championship level.
Yep.
I'm somewhat optimistic that quarterback might be championship level and receiver might be championship. There are other areas I just think I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second area, I just don't see it. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot. Elko didn't see it either.
Yeah.
He even talked about how bad it was. But he said, we're going to change this. He brought in guys. You got guys come back. So it might be, but I've ended up making this exercise much more difficult than it has to be.
This is perfect.
It's like
this
that
is what
jog
I wanted.
I took this morning and pulled a groin. All right, so let me start over. Okay. I'm going to then say running backs, I feel good about, or I feel great about, most confident. Offensive line, most confident. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to change my mind and say quarterback because I feel really good. Now, least confident, I'm going to say the secondary. My next least confident, I'm going to say, but the only one that I'm really not confident in, it's just different levels of confidence, is, I guess, linebackers and then receivers.
Okay.
What I would have to do is say, if we broke it down into, and I'm going to put tight ends with receivers, running backs, offensive line, quarterbacks, receivers, defensive line, linebacker, and then secondary. Broke it into 7, and I listed them 1 through 7. My confidence. I'm most confident like that, then that would have been a lot easier. I'm very high maintenance today. I don't know what's going on.
I should have done it like that.
No, you
I like that.
No,
I like that idea better, to be honest with you,
You should have done it the way you wanted. I'm the guy, you called the play. I'm the guy that just fumbled in the open field.
No. But all I get, last thing on this, and we'll hit a break, but what I get from your list is what you've been saying basically all offseason. Do you think this Aggie offense is going to score, 35 points a game or something like that? You've been saying that? 31 to 35 points a game, I think they'll average. Yeah. I think they're going to score. I think they're going to score a lot. And I think they're going to be an explosive offense. Absolutely. We'll hit a break here. One more segment on the Go Hour. On the other side, you're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner Jewelers.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals to make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration
and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables.
I wasn't at that game, but I remember.
Like Boston?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you kidding?
I
They were
picked these songs
huge when
for you
I
this morning.
was in high school, man.
Yeah, that song pretty much rocks. Smokin' by Boston. Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. Olin Buchanan with me here on the Go Hour as we wrap things up, and want to remind you, don't forget to register for the 2025 TexAgs preseason kickoff, available to all premium and varsity subscribers. The registration link is in Billy's premium form. The event is July 26th at the MSC. We will hear from a couple of head coaches across Texas A&M athletics, as well as have athletes in attendance. If you would like to sponsor a table at the event or donate an auction item, please email sponsors@texags.com. Come kick off the 2025 season with us. And OB, as we wrap things up, I know you're all gussied up, look good this morning. You do every morning, but a little extra because you're going to speak to, Trev Alvert, I guess, is speaking to the media. Just kind of a State of the Union type of thing, I guess. So just what do you expect to hear from him today?
Well, I don't know. I know some of the things we're going to ask him about. I think we're going to be talking about the settlement, what that means to college football and A&M from his perspective. I'm really interested. Has he ever actually said the six sports that A&M is going to fund?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think that's been, that's one of those. Hey, can you actually tell us? You said six. We know it's football, men's basketball, baseball. What else? I would be interested to see his opinion on if he thinks this whole model with the revenue sharing is going to fly when it is inevitably challenged by Title IX lawyers.
Yeah.
So, things like that.
That's already happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't there a lawsuit already out on Title IX? So, and I would be interested to see, which I don't know how much of a priority it is, but just with that new high school NIL deal that came out, that was passed, I should say, by the Texas legislature not too long ago, how much that's actually going to affect things.
I've heard that like the states of Tennessee and Michigan have like changed their or put in laws that basically allows their teams to circumvent the settlement.
And Florida just passed something as well that's like that.
I'm sure that's something they're concerned about. And quite frankly, I wonder, as an athletic director, do you give the coach of a certain sport that you're not funding or not funding very much more grace? For instance, women's basketball. Do you give Joni more grace if they're struggling because maybe you're not giving them as much money? How can she be competitive if say they're getting 3% sent to them and LSU and South Carolina and Tennessee and Texas are providing like 10%?
Yeah.
Because then are you judging coaches on an even playing field?
Absolutely.
Those are some things I just wonder about. Maybe nobody else wonders about that, but those are some of the things I wonder about.
I worry about it, Obie. I'm interested to see what comes out of it. As we wrap up here, about a minute left. What have you heard from Quinn? Is he still partying? Did he go to Omaha? What was he doing?
I love my son, and he did not go to Omaha because he's in Phoenix for his.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's in it,
and they're 2 hours behind us.
Yeah.
So he called me yesterday at about 11:30, and
oh boy,
he was drinking.
Oh yeah.
At 9:30, and I said, "Son, can you at least wait till noon?" He goes something like, "It's game day for the Tigers. Got to get ready for the game, Tigers." All this crap. He sounded like Orgeron.
Yeah.
And needless to say, that I did hear from him last night, and I hope to hear from him sometime today, only to make sure he's healthy and
functioning
and not in jail or anything like that. But yeah, he is an LSU frat boy and all the douchebaggery that applies to that. So hopefully he didn't get any trouble.
Absolutely. OB, thanks for hanging out with me, making the first hour of the show easy. You always do. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to have Ryan Brauninger in studio. Going to talk a little bit about the College World Series. Got a new baseball commit over the weekend, a transfer portal commit, I should say. And we'll talk about Tristan Givens with Bronny as well. We'll hear from Brandon Leone after that. Just get his early, talking season thoughts. He's in Las Vegas for conference, so we'll keep him for just a bit. Then we'll bring Kay Naegeli in here.
Italian guys in Vegas, huh?
Yeah.
There's a stereotype.
We'll bring in Kay Naegeli. Trisha Ford's been busy on the transfer portal trail, so we'll get an update on that, just kind of take an overview of how the Aggie softball roster will look in 2026. Then we'll finish it out with Around Aggieland at 9:50 with Reece Nygren. And then Billy Liucci, of course, for the entire 10 o'clock hour. So we hope you stick around. You're listening to David. You're not listening to David Gardner Schulers. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schulers.
Hey everyone, David Nuno and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it, they'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned, but they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are like, say, a sports fan and you've always wanted
to... everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dreamed of being an owner? Well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
Welcome back in, TexAgs.
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike. What day is it, Mike? Is anybody aware? Like, do y'all know where that commercial's from? That's right. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Hump day.
I do remember that. As I was saying, Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. Got Ryan Brauninger here with me to talk all things Tristan Givens and a little bit on the baseball recruiting front. Bronny, thanks for joining me.
How's it going?
It's going good.
How was Olin? Straight and narrow?
Awesome, yeah. I gave him a task of giving me, he told me he didn't like the soundbite we use for him on the intro. So I was like, okay, give me something new today. We had a spill.
Water spill. Can we get a paper towel? Hey, Kay, give Callie, she's not doing anything other than recovering from the weekend. Can you get her to give me a paper towel? I spilt water.
Good. You just keep them honest back there, Bronny. Well, I guess first thing we'll do is we'll start with the College World Series and the interesting first inning and umpire decisions that were made. I want baseball Bronny's take on
There was a baseball game happen around the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what we were going to be watching yesterday. Thank you, Callie. Nice to have you.
Just come across.
Yeah, just walk in front of everybody. So, thank you. I made a mess. The Ump Show, brought to you by Angel Campos. Yeah, what a crazy. I just don't know, like, how can you. It was so innocent. And the stuff that. He was just complaining that they missed 3 pitches. Okay, I didn't think he showed anybody up. Now, what I don't know what happened is with the first base coach, if he was barking, and I think that's what prompted the immediate warning. And look, man, like, it's an emotionally driven College World Series final. the competition level and the heat of battle kind of emotions are gotta be, you gotta know that as an umpire. Like, I'm walking into a situation that's going to start like on edge.
Yeah.
Coastal's playing for their lives. LSU's playing for a national championship. And it's just too sensitive. And you got to have some feel for it being that early in the game. And then this umpire falling down, and then he was embarrassed. So here's the thing, and this is what I tweeted yesterday. Those umpires, after the final out was made, they got to walk off the field, escorted out, never have to say a word to anybody about their decisions. Meanwhile, had Coastal won the game, Kevin Schnall and his top assistant would have missed the game
The
3.
final, yeah.
And now they've got to sit 2 games to start the next season. That's crazy, man, that the people that made that decision in that moment don't have to answer to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're judge, jury, and executioner, and nobody's going to come out and say, yeah, they overstepped their boundaries here. We can make it right. What I was hoping is that if Coastal had won the game, I was hoping the NCAA would come back and say, hey, we're going to let them coach in this final game.
No kidding.
Suspension enough for having to sit out essentially all 9 innings of game 2. But that in terms of outcome, that's about what I thought. Coastal super competitive as they were all year, but LSU just got too many horses. And that's why I thought that the matchup, the national championship games were LSU versus Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those were the best 2 teams there. Coastal to be able to run through the other side of the bracket was super impressive. And I think, even myself, I probably shortchanged them on their overall talent. When you look at their top 2 starters, I was really impressed with both of those kids. And then their lineup was old. It was unique. A lot of bat to ball. And they did a good job of battling. But, man, Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson, like, we saw that at Bluebell Park. You saw it all year in the SEC. And what's funny is when kind of trying to bring this back to A&M baseball and what A&M baseball is doing recruiting-wise, they've added a couple pitchers here in the last week in Ethan Darden and Carson Bailey. And I see some criticisms on our site and just on social media about A&M adding guys that have ERAs around 5.
Mm-hmm.
But do you realize what Cade Anderson's ERA was going into last night? He's the best pitcher in college baseball. Going into that final game, I think it was a 3-3. So, like, you just don't get, out of starters and guys that throw for a long time, you just don't get a lot of sub 4 ERA in college baseball. So, like, Carson Bailey could impact the weekend rotation without question next year. Ethan Darden, probably going to be a bullpen piece that can pitch in a lot of different roles. He's made a bunch of starts in his career at Clemson. Are they elite? Are they wipeout? Are they Cade Anderson? Probably not. There's not many of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think they're both quality pieces to what Mike Early is trying to build in the 2026 roster.
So tell us a little bit more in depth about Carson Bailey. Again, you mentioned 4.89 ERA, 56 strikeouts, 21 walks over 53 1/3 innings with Baylor.
So there's your numbers that you want to hone in on. It's 56 strikeouts and 53 innings and only 21 walks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at a strikeout to walk ratio that's similar to Ethan Darden's. Like, Ethan Darden's, I think, was 2.24. And so Carson Bailey's hovering in that area. But Carson Bailey, the stuff's big. Where Darden it's pretty much your bullpen left-hander. This is big stuff out of Carson Bailey. 90 up to 97, 98 miles an hour. Good shape to breaking balls. Can throw into his glove side to right-handers, which is a huge compliment to guys that are able to execute in there. We saw that a lot out of Justin Lampkin this year, how much success he had to his glove side against right-handed hitters. This, in terms of the guys they've added on the mound, when you're having Ryan Prager, Justin Lampkin, and Miles Patton are all going to be exiting, or most highly likely. I mean, they all could return, but 100% anticipate them getting drafted and signing. But so if you're going to lose your entire weekend rotation, you have some guys on last year's roster that are returning that could fill those spots. But if you have a chance to go out and add portal acquisitions to maybe replicate those guys or fill in those spots, I think you need to go do that, and they've done that with Carson Bailey.
Yeah, so just talk to me a little bit about remaining needs that they could possibly add through the portal. Just what are some remaining needs? Where do you think they go?
Well, it's the toughest one that they're going to have to go find is another catcher. And I think they got to scour the junior college ranks. They got to obviously scour the portal. Maybe you look for a kid that's got some connection to either the state of Texas or Texas A&M. And I don't think you just couch it as, hey, come be the backup. I think you're going to go, hey, we want a guy that can catch, that can really catch, that can not only spell Bear Harrison, but if Bear gets dinged or whatever, we can feel confident in him going back there for prolonged periods of time. Now, selling that and actually getting somebody to buy it is two different stories, right? Because no matter what you say, the perception is going to be they have an entrenched starter returning behind the plate. So I think that is going to be the difficult find. And think about Jacob Zeno on the football side. They were lucky. Like A&M football was lucky because they wanted to go find a quality depth piece at quarterback, and they went and found a 6-year guy who's from the state of Texas and was just wanting to return home.
Yeah.
So is there that player in the baseball portal? Maybe. They haven't found it yet. So I think finding the other catcher is going to be a tough task. Outside of that, I think they need one more position player. And if you can find a guy that can play multiple positions with a bat, I think that's hugely valuable. And they found that in Carlos Vasquez from Western Kentucky, who was in this weekend on a visit. I was hoping they would get that one locked down. They were not able to. Now Arkansas has jumped in. And so A&M's going to have to weather a visit to Arkansas this week by Carlos Vasquez. But if they are able to get that one over the line, here's why I'm interested in Carlos Vasquez. And the more I watched him, the more I thought, man, if they could get this kid, it would be a big piece of the puzzle. He can play third, he can play second, he can play first, he can play left field. Okay, there's your defensive versatility that we were talking about. At the plate, as a hitter, Western Kentucky was one of the best mid-majors in the country this year. He was their second best hitter in terms of average. 5 homers, 22 doubles. Do you realize that nobody hits 22 doubles at Bluebell Park?
Yeah.
Do you know why nobody hits 22 doubles?
Some of those are going to get out.
Because about half a dozen of those are going to go over the fence.
Yeah.
I was talking to some people that have a good knowledge of Conference USA baseball. They said Western Kentucky's ballpark is one of the worst to hit in. Like the ball just does not go over the fence at all there. It's big, it's high fence, the wind blows in a lot. It's just a tough place to hit. And so you look at a guy that has that amount of bat to ball to hit 366, I think he hit, with 22 homers and 22 doubles and 5 homers. If he just gets similar outcomes at Bluebell, the power numbers are going to go up. Like he's going to hit more homers and the slug will go up. So I really like Vasquez. And now A&M can't just throw all their eggs in that basket, especially if you're going to be battling Arkansas. But to me, I think they present a clear path to the field because, depending on what happens with the draft and these incoming freshman infielders, which I think as we get closer to that, I think we need to talk about the potential impact players in that class because whereas you looked at Jace's class and you looked at, which had Caden Kent in it, and you look at Grahovic's class, which had him and Sorrell in it, like every year they add these freshmen that are more ready to play. Last year was TK. And that was about it on the position player side, I should say. With this class incoming, I legitimately think there's 5 incoming position players that if they are in the lineup every day, they're ready to play. Like there's not this huge learning curve. From the physicality standpoint, speed of the game standpoint, I think they're close to being ready to play. And really, man, I said 5. I could probably push that to half a dozen.
Wow.
Just because it's that talented of a group. Now, some of that's going to get siphoned off by the draft. And you really don't want to be running out 3-4 true freshmen in your starting lineup. But it's different with this class. Like I don't think there's going to be some huge acclimation period. Where TK, he stepped in and was ready to go. I think that's what this group has in it.
I guess last thing on baseball, then we'll get to Tristan Givens. Sawyer Farr returning. He, probably didn't swing the stick as well as he would have liked to start the year. Kind of came on a little bit at the end of the year. Showed some defensive versatility. So just where does, I guess, he fit into this puzzle, and where do you think he can go?
Well, with roster limitations, I think anytime you find a player that's got that much versatility, he becomes valuable. And if it's going to be 34 players on December 1st, you've got to find multiple players in one. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think two-way players in the game of baseball and college baseball, I think you're going to see that go up in number. Two-way players meaning guys that can pitch and play a position. You look at an incoming guy like Nico Partita or Luke Billings, like both of those have potential to be two-way players.
Mm-hmm.
So for Sawyer, him being able to just go out to the outfield, a position he never played, and look comfortable pretty quickly, that speaks to his athleticism. He's playing some first base out there in the California Collegiate League, very interesting, and he's also swinging the bat out there. So I think he took the confidence that he gained from that last weekend in Georgia and then in Hoover, where he was getting on base more, the quality of the at-bats started to tick up. I think he's taken that confidence into the summer ball, and he's had quality summer. Does that mean anything in regards of him returning to A&M? Probably not in terms of the production, but in terms of the confidence, maybe. Like as soon as the light bulb goes off for a player, that can be a turning point in their career. And so maybe that light bulb went off for him out in California, where he and TK are playing together in Santa Barbara.
Tristan Givens commits 8th commit in June for Mike Elko and crew, 5-star defensive end out of Columbus, Georgia. Another out-of-state guy, but someone I know you and Jason are really high on.
Yeah, it's that edge position, right? When you look at him and Samu Muala, so they've gone basically coast to coast to find edge players. And in last year's class, Marco Jones was that guy out of California too. So supremely athletic. When you turn the tape on, you see him making plays at receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a kid that started his career on the offensive side of the ball and then just kept growing and growing. And so his high school coaches said, man, maybe you're pretty good at rushing the passer. Let's see what that looks like. And then all of a sudden, he starts doing that, and he turns himself into one of the most highly coveted prospects in the SEC footprint. And look, you can talk about Tristan and the quality of player that he is, the quality of prospect, and that's pretty easy to see when you turn those highlights on. But I think you just have to look at what Mike Elko is doing right now on the recruiting trail in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks since they started those official visits back on June 5th. And you run it through today, and you could probably run it through the remainder of this week because they are really, really close on probably 3 or 4 more. And if all the dominoes fall their way, and it's hard to do in recruiting, like if you went line by line, every one of these players that A&M's kind of right there at the finish line with and fighting for, you're talking about Avery Morcho or Zayden Crimpin and Aaron Thomas and Booby Feaster. Like if you're talking about all those guys, if you ask me individually, where do I think A&M sits? I'd say first. But then you look at it as the collective, are they going to be able to get all of them?
Mm-hmm.
Just history and precedent says probably not. But if individually, I'd say A&M leads for all of them. Now, I do think Aaron Thomas is probably the one where I'm a little bit, I'm not as bullish on A&M's chances. I think Ohio State and Florida State are major players there, but the presence that A&M has generated in the state of Arizona, starting last year with Jamar Bill Goins, they get Cam Hamill in this class as well. I think there's some juice there in that Phoenix area for the Aggies, and I would predict that A&M can get that one done. He's announcing on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So look, man, like it's been impressive. It really has. Are we celebrating anything? No, because there's no signed documents, and you know that as fickle as recruiting is, this thing can come and go with a quickness. But it's almost like enough people questioned Mike Elko's recruiting prowess when he got the job that he took it personally and put a chip on his shoulder. Signed a really good class last year that the coaching staff and the recruiting staff were way higher on than the national media were.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just tell you that walking around there during camps and stuff, like that staff believes they hit on that freshman class. Like they think they got a lot of really good players and good humans in that freshman group. Time will tell if that's true. But with this 2026 class, it's taken off. And they got a chance to, I don't know if they can catch USC because USC's got 30 commitments. But this can be absolutely a top 5 class without question.
Last thing, and I'll let you get out of here. Just, I think I've heard you talking about this before, but it seems like the official visits have kind of morphed this year, it seems like, or maybe something's changed where you've been real impressed with
the effectiveness,
them. Effectiveness.
You can certainly see that. Like they're coming out of official visits and landing commitments, or these kids are coming to A&M on officials, then going to other places, and then calling A&M and say, hey, I want to come there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not nobody's outdoing them, in these visits whenever they're getting closer to their decision dates. So I think it's a combination of what Derek Miller has done, the GM, head of scouting, and then the ideas in that recruiting staffer office and the connections that they've got. And you look at like a guy like Mason Smith, who's been recruiting Lamar Brown for a long, long time. Matt Salvaggio has been in there, for a long time now across multiple coaching staffs. And all three of those are like big relationship guys, and they give you kind of different angles. And then the coaching staff, I think Trooper Taylor gets the most love and credit, but like Adam Cushing can recruit. We're learning that Jordan Peterson can really recruit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Holman Wiggins. And so like, they're all kind of coming into the forefront. Maybe they weren't, based off where they came from, they didn't have a bunch of spotlight on them. Jordan Peterson coming from Kansas, Troop at Duke, Adam Cushing at Duke. Like maybe they didn't have a lot of limelight on them, and now they're getting it here, and everybody's going, oh yeah, these guys are really good at what they do. So in terms of the official visit experience, I love that they changed kind of the outlook, like what's coming out on social media, different backgrounds, using different areas of Kyle Field and the Bright Complex to do the photo shoots. How about the videos that they've been producing for the kids individually?
I love that they have Monaco. That's
on them.
awesome.
Yeah. And so the whole thing, it's just been a real uptick in the experience for the kids and the players, but also what's coming out, like the media coming out of it's been great.
Absolutely. We got Brandon Leone waiting for us, so we'll go ahead and
kick him off.
Hit a break. And
I want to see his ugly face.
We'll get to Mr. Leone on the other side. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schuler. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Garner's Jewelers. We're here inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back tomorrow. And out on the Buppies Catering Hotline from the city that never sleeps, Brandon Leone joining us from Vegas. You say you're there for a work conference, Brandon, but are you just coming back from the casino?
No. We are here for a work conference, but we did stay out pretty late last night. And man, I had the best dining experience I've ever had in my entire life at Fountain Blue. At the very top, it's a place called Ito. And it's a sushi place where they just bring you, like, you don't order anything. They just bring you multiple courses. And it was like 18 courses, including like dessert, and it was unbelievable. So highly recommend if you go to Vegas to check it out.
Never been out there, but definitely want to someday. So Brandon, I know it's middle of talking season, right? We're gonna talk a lot about hypotheticals and whatnot, but just want to start things off. Quarterback rankings. Everyone's posting their quarterback rankings right now and stuff like that. And Marcel Reed in the SEC, typically middle of the pack. Highest you see him is about 5 or 6. Low on the low end, he's probably about 10 or 11. So not asking you to give me your quarterback rankings, but just what are your expectations for Marcel Reed this year? Do you see him taking a step forward? Is he a top-end SEC quarterback?
Yeah, I think those rankings are fair, if we're honest, based on last year and based on his youth. But I think the expectation for him this year, if A&M wants to take that next step as a program, and if he wants to take that next step as a quarterback, is for him to make a big, big leap as far as his passing game goes. I mean, I think everybody would say he's near the top when it comes to being a dual threat quarterback and running the football, the ability to make defenders miss, creating things when stuff breaks down in the offense. But I think you would really be able to see him take a step as a player if he could work on his completions downfield. I think if we can stretch the field with the pass game, if he can find the open guys, go through his progressions, not panic, not force things, I think you would see him take a huge step and maybe climb a little bit higher in those rankings as the end of the season approaches. But that's my big challenge for Marcel, right? Sitting in the pocket presence, developing that rapport with your receivers. And obviously that's something that he's continuing to work on with the new transfers and the new signees coming in. But if he can stay poised, not rush through things and be able to be a threat downfield, I think it will make him even more dangerous as a runner as well, because things will open up for him and the rest of the offense.
Talking to former A&M running back and safety Brandon Leone on the Buppies Catering Hotline, and you just mentioned something that I was going to ask you a little bit later, but I'll bring it up now. Just you mentioned building rapport with the wide receiver transfers for Marcel. Just what's that like when, I guess back when you were playing, it was more freshmen coming in rather than transfers, but what's that like trying to build that new rapport with new kids coming in, and how challenging is that for maybe a quarterback?
I mean, it just takes time, right? Repetition, like practice. I mean, there's a reason that they're running routes together and doing 7-on-7 and doing 1-on-1s. And, as much time as you can get a feel for someone, like when these quarterbacks have an idea of how a receiver likes the ball thrown to him, if he likes to high point it, if he, wants it down. I mean, all these different things, it takes time. And then also all the different route concepts within the system. And so, Marcel's still learning this new system, right? This second year, I believe, in the offense. And I mean, these receivers are learning it and they're new. And so it just takes time. And so I know Coach Elko and Coach Klein have those guys working on 7-on-7, working on 1-on-1s, working on the different route concepts. It just takes time, like anything else, right? Anything that you do, if you want to excel at it, it takes time and practice and consistency. And so I think even whenever I played, right, it would just take, even for the young quarterbacks, like when McGee was coming up, when Gerard Johnson was coming up behind Reggie and behind Dustin Long and all them, it just took those guys time to get comfortable, get confident. And then once they did, you could start to see that natural development occur. And that's how it typically goes. Just practice, man. Practice.
Yeah. Two rooms, or position groups, I should say, that are pretty familiar with each other. Running back room and offensive line, pretty much returning all of the starters. Just how big is that for the Aggie offense? And again, one of the top rushing offenses in the SEC last season. So knowing that everyone is back and ready to run it back, how big is that?
It's huge, and right, especially talking about the things we were just talking about. As Marcel is continuing to develop, and as these new receivers get added into the system, and are getting the playbook installed and getting comfortable with all that, we can hopefully depend on a veteran offensive line and one of the best running back rooms in the country. I mean, obviously, everybody knows how detrimental the loss was when Le'Veon Moss went down.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the turning point of the season. I'm sure everyone's talked about it. I think he was our best player on the football team. One of the better running backs we've had in a long time. And so having Le'Veon Moss back, having Ruben Owens back, we didn't even really get to see Ruben Owens. Yeah. And I'm telling y'all, he's a dog. And so having those two guys there and then bringing back, I cannot believe it, but E.J. Smith is back. And am I correct?
That's correct.
Amari back?
Amari Daniels
crazy.
As well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's like a cheat code, for our offense. Like when things get tough, you got to be able to run the football in the SEC. You got to be able to slow down a little bit, let your defense rest, and pound the football. And now we're talking about Marcel taking that next step as a quarterback and the receivers meshing with this offense. So what a huge advantage for this team as they head into this season. It's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about Ruben Owens. That's, Amari Daniels did a great job stepping up, being that number 2 guy when Ruben, was out for most of the beginning of the year. But I think me and you are on the same page with how we feel about Ruben Owens. He's what we saw his freshman year, little flashes we got last year. There's a lot of potential for him.
I mean, there was a reason he was 5-star, one of the top running backs in the country. I mean, listen, I have nothing but respect for Amari Daniels. I think he plays his butt off. I think he's a great running back. But Ruben Owens is one of those guys that can be, a starter for a high-level team and make a difference game in and game out. Like, not that Amari doesn't. Like, I agree with you. Amari filled in great. But when you lose 2 5-stars, it'd be like you guys, everybody watching and me stepping in the game, When Michael Goodson and Jaworski Lane went down, they'd be like, dang, man, Brandon plays hard and he's kind of fat. It's like, it's just not the same. There's different levels, man. I think Ruben Owens and Le'Veon Moss are big-time future NFL running backs. And so it's not a shot at Amari Daniels as much as it is a testament to the type of back that Ruben Owens is going to be. So I think it's going to be a huge upgrade, not even just for the running back room, but just for the whole offense. He can catch out of the backfield. Hopefully he's been working on pass pro. We didn't get to see a ton of that because of the lack of experience. But, man, the ability to create with him and Le'Veon Moss is going to be great.
Let's talk a little bit about the wide receivers now. Casey Concepcion transfers in from NC State, Mario Craver in from Mississippi State, and you got some returning freshmen that are going to factor in as well. And I think it would be fair to say that Noah Thomas was the one guy, number 1 guy last year, then kind of a drop off after that. So how key is it for this Aggie offense to maybe find a true number 1 guy again early on this year?
It's very key. I mean, if you look at a theme of the most winningest teams in the SEC in the last however long we've been there, there was always a big dog playmaking receiver, or 2, sometimes more with LSU and Bama, right? They'd have 2, 3, 4 of them. So, that was a huge loss. Losing Noah Thomas still doesn't make any sense to me, but, wish him nothing but the best. But I think they did a great job going out and identifying veteran talent that can be plug and play immediately. So, I mean, I know Coach Elko and this team are depending on them to step up and to step into that position in this offense and be playmakers. I think Casey Concepcion is going to be a stud. The guy from Mississippi State seems like he can stretch the field, which is something we know we always need. We've got to be able to get the ball on top of the defense. But I'll tell you who I went to practice earlier in the spring just for a little while, and I got to see the receivers for a little bit doing one-on-one. And, man, Ashton Bethel, I think he's going to be a stud. Yeah. I really do. I mean, the way he comes out of his breaks as a receiver, he's athletic. He was giving the DBs fits. And so I was really excited to see that because I hadn't seen a ton from him, but I'd heard a lot about his athleticism. I'm excited about him. I think he might be a factor this year if he can stay healthy.
Absolutely. Last question here for you, then we'll let you get out of here, Brandon. Key games on the schedule. I don't know if you have that pulled up, but I can read some to you. You go to Notre Dame week 3. You host Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida, 3-game homestand. Then you go to Arkansas for the first time in, since 2013 they go actually to Fayetteville. You got to take on LSU on the road, Missouri on the road. You host South Carolina, and then you go to Texas. So just what are some of those key games on the schedule for you? What games are maybe you most excited about?
Golly. the next game, right? I mean, every single game for this program is critical. Like we've got to start to win some of these big games. But when you say that out loud, that sounds like coach speak and BS. And so for me, I think you gotta get as much experience in UTSA and Utah State as you can before you go on the road to Notre Dame. Get young guys in there. I mean, just fast forward the growth and development of this team as much as possible, because that's a huge game for the Mike Elko era. But then where do you go from there, right? Auburn, you blow that game last year. That was probably the most frustrated I've ever been watching an A&M game. I don't know why. For whatever reason, that game just drove me insane. So I would love to see us win that game in College Station. But I think two that people are probably sleeping on, you want to consider Auburn and Mississippi State wins because we got them at home. I think Arkansas and Mizzou are going to be challenging football games. I really do. And, if we take care of Kyle Field and then go and win Arkansas and Mizzou and somehow we sneak Notre Dame, then you're looking at a really, really good season. But this SEC is crazy. Here we were sitting on top of the SEC last year with a few games left, and everyone's saying, what do we have? Auburn, South Carolina, which ended up just surprising everybody. But in my mind, I'm thinking, we got this. We just got to get through and get to Texas. And look what happened.
Yeah.
And so you said, what's the most important game, brother? It is the next game. Like this young program, this young team, they have got to be able to say UTSA is the most important game. And we have to execute and win and do everything at a high level if we want to ever be a factor in the SEC. Utah State, same thing. They got to take it 1 week at a time and minimize turnovers, like minimize penalties, like these mental mistakes that cost you the game. They've got to continue to grow, because if you look at what he's doing in recruiting right now, and even the first class, I think Elko is adding talent. He's recruiting way better than I thought he would, if I'm being honest, just as a fan and a friend of the program, right? I think he's killing it, him and his staff. So one game at a time, win. Let's go make some noise this year and surprise people. That's what I'm hoping for.
Brandon, thank you so much for making time for me this early morning for you out in Vegas. So it'll be football season, but look at that. Oh, there's the Sphere? Yeah.
And the win. Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't been to the Sphere yet. I'm going to go tonight or tomorrow, hopefully. But
see Kenny Chesney?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't see Kenny Chesney. I do like Kenny Chesney.
I thought he had a residency there or whatever. But anyways, Brandon, we'll catch up with you. Football season will be here before you know it, so we look forward to it. And thanks again.
Absolutely. See you later, Nick. Have a good day. Great job.
That's Brandon Leone on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break here. On the other side, we'll talk to Kay Naegeli. A little bit of softball talk as Trisha Ford's been busy in the portal, and we'll get a breakdown of the roster, what it might look like next year, and maybe what's still left to come for Aggie softball. So keep it tuned right here. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner Jewelers. Carson Stein on the ones and twos at KZNE. That's the wrong slow ride, but I'll accept it. Slow ride by Foghat, bringing us back. Kay Naegeli's in studio here with us, TexAgs softball reporter, just to kind of recap what Trisha Ford's been up to over at Davis Diamond, getting girls in and out, trying to build that roster for the 2026 squad. And before we get to that, I'm not going to do the Brawny thing where we demean you for going to concerts and stuff, but
right.
I know he wasn't at the one y'all went to. But why is Drake showing up to a country concert?
So Drake actually
pause. Country around Morgan Wallen is a rough. But anyways,
yeah,
why?
You're a big Texas country
fan.
Yes. So you don't believe in
So why is he showing up to
He lives
a country
in Brenham
concert?
now. So he lives in Texas. I'm sure he has
We should get him on the show.
multiple homes. I think that'd be a great idea. I was just so disappointed when Billy Liucci didn't walk out with
That's true.
Morgan Wallen.
What? Yeah. Where was that?
I know he was there, and I know, yeah, it was an awesome time. He puts on a great show. So yeah, fun
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the transfer portal and what's happened in the meantime since I guess last softball we've talked on the show was when Trisha was in here kind of recapping the season. But portal opened up. They've been busy. I guess let's start right when the portal opened up. What was the Aggie roster losing? Like who is obviously Emily Kennedy? So just take us through that.
Yeah, so obviously Emily Kennedy headlined the whole thing. She is now in the AUSL. She's gotten a couple appearances there. So if you ever catch her, that's like on MLB app and ESPN that has been as well.
It's on the MLB network too.
Yeah.
So it's on.
It's been really awesome to just see that grow. Coco Woolley, obviously another huge loss. She was with the Texas A&M program for 4 years. And then you have the transfers from last year, like Mac Barbara. You had Ojo Johnson, who was a catcher. She didn't get to play in the postseason because of injury, but she was great when they needed her. And then the outfield, Allie Enright, Kramer Eshte. I mean, those were transfer pieces you brought in, but they were here for multiple years. So it was really unfortunate. You lost 2/3 of your outfield. You lost your catcher. You lost your ace. You lost your amazing Golden Glove shortstop. So there was a lot of replacing to be done. You had 7 seniors exhaust their eligibility. So definitely looking for a ace or a pitcher was their priority. Trisha Ford talked about that whenever she came in. And then there was a lot of different position spots. It was known that Amari Harper went into the portal. She has not currently found a home, but we are monitoring that.
She's the one real like shocking portal entry
that
they've
was
had.
the one real shock. That was an interesting decision, but wish her nothing but the best. I mean, that infield was also very crowded, regardless of what they also brought in. So they were losing a lot. They definitely needed some pitching. We know Trisha Ford is a pitching guru, and she loves her lefties, and that's exactly one of the ones she brought in. Missouri left-handed pitcher Taylor Purnell. I actually got the chance to speak with her in an interview. I mean, I can tell you right now, all 5 additions that Trisha Ford brought in are great humans. Just from talking to them and listening to them for the first time, it really seems like they are super bought into what A&M did this past year. They got to watch what A&M did this past year. When you have a #1 ranking by your name, that obviously garners a lot of attention. So yeah, they had a lot to replace, but really, really like what they got.
Tell you what, Kay, let's hit a break here. You stick around and we'll get to the rest of the class on the other side. We got to stay on the clock here. I was horsing around too much at the beginning, so that's my fault. We'll hit a break. On the other side, we'll get more from Kay Naegeli talking about Aggie softball. This is TexAgs Live presented by David Garner Jewelers. Everything I Love. Everything I Love by Morgan Wallen bringing us back. That was actually planned for Callie, but she can't do Around Aggieland today. It'll be Reece Nygren. We'll do that at 10 o'clock. But Kay Naegeli is still with us, TexAgs softball reporter, and we were just kind of going down the list of transfers. Finished off with the Missouri transfer. Now let's move to 3 transfers from the state of Oklahoma. 1 from OU, 2 from Okie State.
Yeah. I want to talk about, just with this class, I really do like the additions they brought in. I know I said that earlier, but you're getting a couple seniors who are going to exhaust their college eligibility in Aggieland, 3 of them, and then you also brought 2 younger players who can grow and develop in your program. So let's start off with Maya Bland. She is from Oklahoma. She will be an incoming junior. She won a ring at OU. That her freshman year, she was on the base pass a lot. She was used as a pinch runner, but she just was in a crowded Oklahoma outfield. Of course, that is notorious for being one of the country's best programs. So unfortunately, it just didn't work out for her. She hit 250 and 32 ABs this year, but she did have 2 game-winning home runs against ranked Oklahoma State. So I'm sure the other transfers felt that a little bit. And Alabama. So she has that clutch factor. She's actually from Texas, so she's returning home. Really like this upgrade, and she was behind at Oklahoma an All-American, a junior who hit 325, and a freshman who hit 349 in the outfield. So just a crowded space for her, and I really like she's getting a different opportunity.
It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of similar to some of these baseball transfer additions. You don't dive too much into the numbers. There's obviously something that the coaching staff likes and what they're getting out of these players, or what they see, what they project.
Yeah.
I think, we've seen the rosters Trisha Ford can build, so there's no reason you shouldn't trust, this girl's only got 30 at-bats or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why you can't trust Coach Ford, because she's obviously...
She played at Oklahoma.
Yeah, played at Oklahoma, won a ring, likes what she sees. So just finish off with the 2 Oklahoma State transfers.
Yep, let's go to Michaela Work. She's had an injury history, but she really felt like she could be developed here. That was the one thing that she really talked about with this A&M program, is like just the pure stuff that they have to use with like hitting, just all the different things that A&M can bring to the table. She really liked. And then her teammate, Talon Edwards, they made separate decisions, but they are really, really good friends. I was able to talk to both of them. Work is also a Frisco native, so you're also bringing back another Texas girl home. Let's talk Talon Edwards for a second. She will also spend her senior year in Aggieland. Got a chance to talk to her, and she said the coaching staff was just talking about these connections and how the Aggie network works, and she said she heard about the Aggie ring, and her jaw dropped. And I was like, that is exactly what you want to hear out of someone coming to spend their senior year here. It just seems like a great addition. And she was a Golden Glove recipient at third base this past year. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer for A&M staff to go pursue her. Also, a little tidbit, she can catch as well. So you lost Ojo Johnson. That was your main catcher from this past season. So it'll be interesting to see how Trisha Ford makes all these pieces work. And then last but not least, want to talk about Paisley Allen. She is from Georgia. She's a former 5-star recruit and probably has the highest upside out of every single girl that they brought in. She played primarily second base this past season. Like I said, former 5-star, and she is also returning to her home state. So really nice that the state of Texas has a lot of talent within the state. They went out of state, and now they're all going to come back home and play.
About a minute left here, and quickly, just what is there anything left to add? Do they have the roster space? What do you expect in the, I guess, next few weeks?
Yeah, so luckily with the new NCAA rules and things, they are going from 12 scholarships to 25 scholarships. These 5 additions, that would make it 25. So in this new era, you can choose to split and have walk-on players, but you can also choose to split scholarships. I don't know if they plan to do that. This is a whole new era, so I'm sure they're learning as they go. As of right now, they do have 25 players on the roster, so they have a lot of pieces to work with in the infield and the outfield. It'll be very interesting to see. There's a lot of utility players on this team, too, so it'll be interesting to see how all the pieces fit.
Absolutely. Kay Naegeli, thank you very much. Get out of here. On the other side, 10 o'clock hour, all Billy Liucci. We'll actually do Around Aggieland to start off, then we'll get to Billy Liucci in that second segment. So make sure you keep it right here. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner Jewelers. Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back with you tomorrow. And it's time for Around Aggieland. That's usually done with Callie Garner, but today Reece Nygren stepping into that role. And we'll throw it over to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center where we find Reece. And Reece, take it away. What do we got?
So we'll start out on the baseball diamond. Jake Polish makes his major league debut for the Chicago White Sox on Saturday against the Toronto Blue Jays. He pitched the 8th inning, allowing 2 runs. He's the first Aggie to make his MLB debut this season and 4th to make an appearance in the MLB. He played 4 minor league seasons and registered a 3.17 ERA in 94 appearances. Over on the football field, 5-star edge Tristan Givens committed to A&M. The 6'4", 215-pound edge rusher from Columbus, Georgia, chose the Aggies over Tennessee, USC, and Florida State. He is the 19th recruit of the 2026 class. On the track side, the Aggies received 5 USTF CCCA South Central Regional honors. Pat Henry was the men's and women's coach of the year. Alexander Solovev was the men's field athlete of the year. Winnie B., the Women's Field Athlete of the Year, and Mario Setenya was the Women's Assistant Coach of the Year. And then Alex Caruso wins his 2nd NBA championship, this time with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He averaged 10.1 points, including 2 20-point games and 2.3 steals per game in the finals. Caruso is the first player in NBA history to have 2 20-point finals games after having 0 in the regular season. 2025 marks the 4th time in 6 seasons an Aggie has won the finals, dating back to Caruso in 2020 with the Lakers. Chris Middleton won in 2021 with the Milwaukee Bucks, DeAndre Jordan in 2023 with the Denver Nuggets, and then Alex Caruso this year with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Around Aggieland is going to get pretty short here for the next few months just because the sports calendar's done for the year, right? All college sports are done, so a lot of looking forward to do. And Billy will be here around 10:10, so we're going to do one quick segment here, then we'll get to Billy Liucci on the other side of that. But right now, we can get to Around the SEC. That's presented by Jack Sir, and behind the glass is Cade Bickham. Cade's got some notes for us.
So on the topic of the NBA Finals, first quickly we'll give a SEC shout out to LSU, College World Series champions. 2nd time in 3 years. They won in the 2023 season as well. In terms of the NBA Finals, there were 5 SEC players on the Oklahoma City Thunder championship roster.
Wow. Just on OKC alone, there were 5 SEC players?
So Caruso at A&M, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a Kentucky product. Isaiah Joe, he didn't play a lot, but he saw some minutes from Arkansas. Cason Wallace, who saw a lot of minutes off the bench, also a Kentucky guy, and then Jalen Williams, who didn't really get to play, but he went to Arkansas as well. So that's 5 SEC guys on that Thunder roster winning a championship yesterday.
Wow, pretty impressive. And again, congrats to Alex Caruso. I know we'll talk to Billy a little bit about him, just his legacy for Aggie basketball and what he's meant to this community. But while we, kind of kill some time here, boys, let's something that I'm not really interested in, only other than the fact that it gives us a good base as to what the national media maybe thinks of the Aggies roster this year. The college football 26 video game rosters were leaked, the ratings and whatnot, and of course all the Aggie roster or Aggie players are on there. And highest rated player, Armaj Reed Adams, 93 overall, which completely fair. They have Trey Zune as an 88, which I would think that's a little low. You'd think 2 possible first-round offensive linemen, you'd want to have Trey Zune up there with Armaj, but whatever. Casey Concepcion, 90 overall. Torian York, 90 overall. No complaints. Le'Veon Moss, too low. He's too low.
Yeah, him not being a 90 is kind of criminal.
I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Everybody saw enough from him last year, right? In the 8 games he played, and he was
the SEC leading rusher.
He was on pace for probably 1,300 yards. It just seems ridiculous.
You heard Leone say it earlier. He thought he was the best player on the roster last year, and I don't think you'd find much disagreement on that thought. Cassius Howell, 88. Tyler Onyedim, Iowa State transfer, 88. Sure, sounds good to me. Dalton Brooks, 87. Will Lee, 87. Will Lee, too low.
Too low.
Too low.
The blanket should be probably a 90 overall, but
I agree. I'm with you there.
It's a video game.
It's a video game.
It's a video game.
Amari Daniels, 86. Sure. Chase Basantes, 86. Ruben Owens, 86. You can't really bump him up just because he had such limited playing time. So don't disagree with that necessarily. Demetrius Crownover, 85. I'm going to stop going through every single name here. Jump to the next notable name. Marcel Reed, 85 overall. Fair. Yeah, I'm okay with it. Maybe a touch too low, maybe 87, but I'm okay with it.
I will say his speed, he's like a 90 speed, 90 agility. So he might be one of those guys where he's an 85 overall, but he's one of those dudes that you just want to play the game with because he's kind of like a cheat code. I mean, Jalen Milroe last year was in the 90s, but it was like he had like 98 speed. So playing with Jalen Milroe was like one of the greatest things of the game. But I would say Mario Craver's only a 92 speed. He's an 80 overall. I feel like that's a touch low. But we talk about the running back room all the time. The average overall rating is an 82 for the running back room, which among 6 guys, that's a pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would be interested to know, and that's way too much work, so don't go do this. But I would be interested to know what it is, in terms of the other schools, where that ranks. The biggest, and this is the easiest one to point out and say, what are we doing here, EA, is Terry Bussey, 82 overall. Come on now. I thought he showed plenty to be rated and perceived a little bit higher than that. His versatility, right? Yeah. He come in as a defender, but because of the needs, you turn him over to the wide receiver room. He plays a little bit of running back too. He can return punts and kicks. That's criminal.
Yeah, I think as they do in the season updates to the game. So I feel like as the season goes on.
But we got to be mad about it.
Yeah, we have to be mad about it now. But I feel like as the season goes on, there's a chance that you could see Terry Bussey in the mid to upper 80s if he performs the way that
for sure. Like I'll Matthew Dawson it. If I could, I would bet money that he would raise his level significantly.
I think we need Matthew Dawson to find the odds on Terry Bussey being a 90 overall by the time the season's over, just to see, hey, what could I win if I put some money down?
He could make a few. I mean, you can make an argument that it'll be Marcel Reed and Ruben Owens who could get that bump.
I think something that's going to fly under the radar, Lamont Rogers is an 80 overall.
As a freshman.
True freshman. That is insane. I mean, the game's only been around for 2 years as a newer version, and I feel like 80 overall for a freshman is an insanely high
that's
number.
Interesting because, we've talked about it a lot today. You got 5 returning offensive line starters. How much will we actually see Lamont Rogers? 'Cause they got a rotation, so he's going to play, but what will he look like in those snaps will be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and then Theo is a 76. That seems
like it hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, that seems low. Like, I feel like he showed signs that he could at least be an 80 or a higher 70, because you scroll down on this, and as you get to the 70s, it starts to become yellow. I feel like there should be some green by Theo's rating, but that's just my opinion. To each their own.
Last guy I'll touch on before we hit a break and get to Billy Liucci. One that I would bet the hypothetical money on of raising his overall, Miles Davis. Me and Matthew Dawson have been bullish on Miles Davis, just in the limited
Davis
snaps.
Train, yeah.
Yeah, he loves to hit, and I love that.
75 overall, I feel like we could see that.
Yeah. Well, we desperately need depth in the secondary as well. So if he's a piece that comes out of the woodworks and just absolutely kills it, that would be just fantastic for this defense.
Absolutely. We'll hit a break here. Billy Liucci will join us on the other side. We'll talk all things Aggie football, College World Series, Alex Caruso, you name it. So be sure to keep it right here. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner Schulers. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno. He'll be back with you again tomorrow. And Billy Liucci, TexAgs co-owner and executive editor. I think you got to power on that mic there, Billy, before we bring you in here. And then
I'm brought in.
You're brought in.
Thank you. It's crazy how I wasn't here and now I'm here.
How was your weekend?
Good. Just what did I do? What did I do? Morgan
big
Wallen
concert,
Friday
yeah,
night, and then that was it. That was about it. Watched a lot of sports this weekend.
Baseball,
Yesterday in particular with and here we are now. No sports really till football. No offense to whatever's being played. I don't know. I don't.
Oh, there isn't. There's no offense taken. There's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know if there's some kind of summer, World Cup prelim prep for 3 years. So I don't care. There's no sports from now until football season, which is fine. But what it really affects is my after dinner TV watching. That is people always are, it's like a common conversation. Are you watching anything new on Netflix? And I'm like, I've had to tell a couple people, no, stop asking me. Stop talking to Nick Saban. I'm not answering, Stop asking. But because between the NHL playoffs and then the NBA, kind of as it goes, my interest grows, as it gets later into it. And then obviously the college baseball postseason. There's a lot to turn on and watch, from 8 o'clock till you go to bed.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. Not now. I mean, now nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. MLB, NBA, same type of deal. You just got to get a little bit closer to October.
I love
before you get
MLB
into
playoffs, even though they're in the middle of football season.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. You would think that would make me care less about them. I love. That's always my dilemma during the week at night during football season when you're sitting there writing or working, and you got your background TV on. And the dilemma is always baseball playoffs slash the replays of the college football, the SEC games that you didn't get to watch.
Absolutely. Look, you might get to go to some playoff games down in Houston again this year. But let's start with the NBA Finals. Alex Caruso wins his second NBA title, fourth Aggie in the last 6 years to win an NBA title. So just how cool is that for them?
Aggie or him twice?
Or him twice, sorry.
Okay. I didn't know if I tweeted about that last night. I didn't know if I had left someone off. But first it was, I guess Caruso was first,
20,
and then Middleton, and then DeAndre later on in his career, and then Caruso. And it's interesting because, Caruso's first time, he was a key role player for the Lakers, but Middleton was like the second best player on the Bucks. And now Caruso, the Thunder are so balanced, it's hard to rate any of them behind SGA. But like Caruso was such a vital cog for them in this playoff, but especially in these NBA finals. 2 20-point games in the finals last night. What do you have? 10 points, 5 rebounds, and was it 3 steals? I mean, he was so impactful. And that doesn't even, those numbers, I mean, I know the steals do to a degree, but they don't even count for the just absolute harassing that he did on the defensive end throughout the whole, like I said, the whole playoff. They probably don't get there. An unsung hero moment for this team. If you're probably a true Thunder fan, you know this, but and Aggie fans know it too, but it's not going to be talked about now because it's so far in the past. What he did in Game 7 against Joker was like they don't get there without that. And there's a lot of Thunder players that you could take a moment or a game or a performance and say, if they don't win that game, but that was his moment. Like they don't get there without that defensive effort. So it was so cool to watch him play such a pivotal role in an NBA Finals. I think about when I was younger, the Rockets championship runs, and you're like, there was Robert Ory, and there was, Mario Ellie and Mad Max. You can go down the list of these guys that, and it's like, yeah, that's Alex Caruso now. That's who he is, and Cassell when he was younger, before I think the first year, then the second year he played more of a role, but like that's Alex Caruso. Those when I was younger watching those guys win my city championship, that's what Caruso did, and it was fun to watch and root. Otherwise, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Thunder are cool they're a cool story because of how young they are and because of kind of it's exciting for AC and the Thunder to go, damn, man, they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
I mean, other the Rockets are going to try to, with what happened this weekend with Kevin Durant, they're going to try to make, push them out of there. But regardless of whether they win it next year, they're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Caruso is going to be a key part of that. So that's really exciting for him. And I just, there are a few athletes along the way that whatever you think while they're at A&M or while they're a recruit, because we cover the recruiting so much, whatever you think they're going to reach and achieve, they just go so much beyond it that you have to, all you can do is sit back and man, I never saw it happening to that level for that player. And it's a really, if I'm on a short list, I think Caruso has sailed past, because I'm not saying that him making the NBA, and I think he would have sat here and told you, like, that's my ultimate goal, is to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't a sure thing. When you get drafted in the second round and then you go through, but it's not getting, he's in some way, a lot of ways, like, he could be on an all-star team, at some point. And some will make the case that if they would pick the teams based off other things besides popularity and scoring, he could be. But he's a two-time NBA champ, the all-defensive team, which is insane. What is it, the Hustle Award? Like, all these things that he's done in such a short period of time, and I say such a short period, it's been a path for him to get there, and it's crazy to think that his championships are 5 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
He was also really good in Chicago with the Bulls. He has moved to number one for me in terms of when he got to A&M, what I thought versus when to me, he's passed up Michael Bennett, who was Caruso was actually a much more highly regarded recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bennett was kind of, just another name from Louisiana Tech that came over here to play alongside his brother Martellus. And then he ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, I believe being in a Pro Bowl, but had a great NFL career on the field and had made a ton of money. But man, I would say Middleton might be number 3 because, again, probably what you would call akin to a 3-star. Middleton actually might be number 2 now, because let's look at his career. Freaking NBA title as literally number 2 option on his team, Olympic gold medal, All-Star game. Like, Chris Middleton's probably number 2 in terms of where he was versus what he's done. Bennett probably 3.
NBA All-Star as well for Middleton.
Yep. And then but I'd put Caruso at 1. This is my list, not of what they've accomplished. My list of guys that got to A&M, what I thought they would be, let's just say, as pros.
Mm-hmm.
Much less in some instances even what they did in college. But I think all 3 of those guys, I know all 3 of them are such better pros than they were in college. And Caruso was all SEC, and Middleton was really good, but it's gone to a completely different level in terms of their evolution as basketball players.
Yeah, the other big thing that happened this weekend, College World Series wrapped up yesterday, and part of the story is LSU wins its 8th title in program history. The bigger part of the story is what happened in the first inning with Kevin Schnall getting ejected for holding up three
They
fingers
made
pretty
themselves
much.
a part of the story. But
Yeah.
let me go back real quick, too, to Caruso.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't want to gloss over how cool it is to see a person of his character.
Yeah.
And someone that grew up here, was an Aggie from the moment they were born.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people listening around town know his parents and his whole family. Like when I say good people, that's not good enough to say, like great people, whole family. And just being a part of not just the Aggie community, but BCS, and to bring not one, but 2 rings back is, I mean, I don't think you can overstate how freaking epically cool that is for him, his family, his fiance Haley, who, you know, was babysitting Griff back in the day, has been a long-time friend of mine. I'm joking with her about that, but I mean, Griffin's 10 and he was a puppy, remember? So, but like, just how happy they all get to be for that. It's like, we're all excited and fired up about it, but when you think about, like, that's just so cool for them. It really is. And the final part I'll say about AC is the freaking work that goes into that.
Yeah.
That does not come without not just years of work, but I mean, these last few years to get to where he's at. It's just like, he simply wants to be that more than the other people do.
Yeah.
You have to be that kind of player and to dive around before you're getting any credit for doing that and all that stuff.
And I don't watch a lot of NBA, but the little bit I do, I feel like that's becoming rarer and rarer to be that kind of player.
Yeah, and well, they'll try to do that in the playoffs more, but to do it year round and kind of get your shot because of it and then make your name off of it. My biggest thing is how far he's come, you know, as a shooter. I mean, you give him an open shot, he's, you know, he was money in this postseason. So LSU, 8 titles. It's crazy, man. 8 titles in 40 years. You know, 3 different coaches, right, that have done it. I believe that's 3 different ones. 2 now for Jay Johnson. You've got to put him in the discussion. I'm happy for Nate Yeske. That's what has he been there with 4 different teams? Did I see that right? Oregon's or 4 different times, but he's been there 3 times between A&M. Between A&M and LSU, he's been there 3 times in the last 4 years. I don't typically root for LSU. I really don't. I have a lot of very good friends that are LSU people, so when they win, I'm actually happy for 4 different teams. Yeah, Oregon State, Arizona. Yeah, pretty remarkable. I was reading a thread the other day of people complaining about how is he so bad at A&M. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, he was here 2 years. One of the years they went to Omaha with no pitchers. Like, just patched that thing together and then pitched lights out down the stretch, right, to get there. Anyway, LSU, I don't typically, like, pull for them to win because, A, they love seeing A&M suffer so much that I want that feeling to always stay mutual, and you guys know that's how you are. But I am happy for my LSU friends that they're the same ones that would turn around and be texting me and telling me, hey, congrats, you know, if the Aggies would have won it last year. So to them, congratulations. And they were the best. I thought all year it was Arkansas, to me, felt like the best team because of their combination of hitting and pitching. LSU, it felt like their lineup got better in the postseason in terms of how they were hitting, how they were playing offense, but they also, their pitching went from excellent to virtually untouchable, and that's how they won it. I mean, those pitchers were incredible. They're just nasty, nasty stuff. As I'm watching A&M build in the portal and through recruiting, you're like, you still got to get there in terms of that pitching staff. Where you look at the Aggies last season, and the reason they got there was Prager, Sadeo, and then he got hurt, and that was, you know, that might have cost him a title. You know, we always talk about the Braden injury. Maybe it was the Sadeo injury. But the way Lampkin pitched in Omaha, and then with the Cortez's final year, and obviously Aschenbeck, they almost did that because pitching. And I remember when Slosh got here for the first year or two, what he was saying was, I got to get this pitching staff. Like, he would talk about when TCU played A&M under Childress. He was like, some of that stable of arms you guys had was insane. And he was trying to get it kind of back to that along with the offense that they had. So you look at LSU, and that's what it was. It wasn't just those two starters. It was the arms they could trot out of the bullpen. It was their Sunday guy who's going to be like Anderson and Ianson in another, next year. That's going to be him. So from Houston, by the way. Shores is where's he from? Not Midland, yeah. So watching that was impressive, no doubt. Watching Schnall get thrown out. I go, like, there's a little bit of me that says that guy absolutely, and I'm all for, I don't have too much of a problem with a good old-fashioned meathead ball coach. You can't, like him in football and then hold it against the baseball guy. I like a fiery coach in any sport. But I do think he kind of, if there's a meathead threshold, I've watched him this postseason. I've watched his pressers, and I think he's a little bit on the wrong side of the meathead threshold. So I do think maybe he could have dialed it back in the first inning of a championship game just a little bit and had a little feel that I get that you're trying to establish something early but not put yourself in harm's way. But I think that was 90% umpire absurdity. And he should never have been thrown out for that. Somebody was trying to argue with me that if you argue balls and strikes, you're always going to, you leave the duck. My ass. Like, I watched Tony Vitello do it. I watched Jay Johnson would have been thrown out of every A&M game here at Bluebell this year. Every single one he would have gotten thrown out of. And I didn't want him thrown out. It's just, if that was the way you did it, every other game there'd be a head coach being thrown out. And then that dumbass that tried to step in and falls and rolls over, like, he looked like he was 96 years old getting hit by like a cannonball. That was the biggest overreaction. Like the coach did say, and he was funny, and it's not his fault, he was so unathletic.
Yeah.
But to throw him out and throw the other guy out and then get that added suspension to it. Imagine if Coastal would have won. What a shame that would have been for them to win that game and then have to go the whole next game without not one but two of those coaches. This is the dumbest crap I've ever seen. Those umpires should never work a College World Series game again. If that sounds harsh, how do you think a guy that got his team there and couldn't coach that game because of your ego and because you couldn't contain a situation, how do you think he feels and those players feel? And they're always going to wonder, they lost by 2 runs. They're always going to wonder, could that have made a difference? Look, LSU was the better team. LSU was the better team. They were the best team in Omaha. Arkansas could, well, I say Arkansas could argue it. That wasn't an elimination game for LSU.
Yeah.
They're probably coming back and beating Arkansas. Now, what would be interesting is if they'd have had to play that extra game against Arkansas, who do they throw and how does that affect the final?
Yep.
That part would have been interesting in terms of like Coastal's chances. But credit LSU, and that's the best program in college baseball. And if you want to say over 40 years, it might be the best program in college sports. I don't know, like Duke, North Carolina. I know Kentucky doesn't have 8 in the last 40 years. Maybe. And I don't think Duke's got 8 in 40 years, but maybe Duke. UNC, Kansas in basketball, but they're not. Kansas definitely isn't touching that. I don't think anyone's touching that. Bama in football, but that's 40 years, but that was all over a 15-year span under one coach. The way they've done it is, they are the power. They are the king of the hill in college baseball. And I don't think anyone can question that.
Absolutely. Let's hit a break here. On the other side, we'll talk little bit of Aggie recruiting.
I want to come back with a baseball thought, too.
Cool.
We got recruiting, we got football, we're going extra today.
Love it. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner Jewelers. Back here on TexAgs Live, we're presented by David Garner Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and Billy Liucci wants to continue the conversation. One more baseball thought.
Well, just that as I'm sitting there watching it, like I know a lot of Aggies who were there in Omaha, or that was kind of a conversation that came up yesterday at breakfast, and then, in the group, there's a group chat I'm on, and somebody sent a picture, and we're talking about, a year, everybody's phone's popping up now, like a year ago today, and it's everything. There was a picture that popped up on my phone of me and Zane sitting in the dugout. It was Zane and I just sitting there, and it's like, man, just right before, the whole, everything changed, right? It was literally probably the day, it was the off day, so it was probably the day before the series, and then there was Zane before he fired off the question, like how much everything's changed. But then it's like, man, the bottom line is this team's got to get back there. I see all my LSU people there in Omaha. I look at the Coastal fans, everybody at Rocco's, and I had friends from other places whose teams weren't even playing in it I was noticing their pictures from there, and I was almost like, damn, it's actually a mistake on my part and anybody that really loves this part not to just assume and just plan to go every year.
Anyway.
Even if it's just for, if your team's not in it, go for a couple of nights. It's just that much fun. It's that cool an event. But yeah, the Aggies have to be a regular participant in that. Just like LSU is, just like, Tennessee has become, just like Arkansas is, Vandy, who am I forgetting there? Mississippi State used to be, South Carolina used to be. You don't want to be one of those used to be. Florida would be, those would be the five that first come to mind as like the always participants. Texas is going to try to become that again. They used to be that as well. So there's a lot of competition for those spots. It's not easy to get to, but you need to field a team here at Texas A&M that every year has the potential to get there. There's going to be some years where you should get there. There's going to be some years where you're expected to compete for a national title. There's going to be some years where you just have a team that's good enough to get there, and you got to see if you can. But that should be where A&M is year in and year out, and they got to have a big bounce back this coming season and make that a realistic goal. And look, as you and nobody wants to hear this, and this is not, we're not looking. This is not a little trophy in here that's for a moral victory that we're about to break out. It's just a cord. I swear, it's not. It's not a trophy for a moral victory. But the fact they won 2 out of 4 against LSU, they won a series here, and that was with Anderson and Ianson pitching. In 3 of those 4 games, they faced Anderson and or Ianson because they faced them both in Hoover. So 3 of those 4 games, they faced the best LSU had. And they won 2, and they lost 2 by 1 run. And then Arkansas was the Final Four team over there, and they went into Fayetteville and beat them 2 out of 3. And actually beat them up pretty good. This was a team that was playing really good baseball, not just for a couple weeks at the end of the season. They were playing really good baseball from early April. I think that Tennessee series was like April 5th or 6th or somewhere in there until the end. They left themselves no margin for error because of how it started. And then they had the biggest of errors ever imaginable. Still to this day, the most inexplicable series or head-to-head game result I've probably watched in A&M history. And because of that early season and that transition period and those injuries early, they couldn't overcome it. But reality, down the stretch of this season, I'm not saying they would have been playing LSU in the finals or meeting, making it a one more SEC team in the semis. What I'm saying is they played exceptional baseball for almost 2 months of the season minus 1 weekend. And that weekend cost them. It's not an excuse, and it should have cost them. It should have cost them. But point being, they ended the season on a stretch where they were playing really, really good, and hopefully, that was a sign that the coaches and the players really figured it out and what it looks like post Schlossnagle and into the early era now. So we'll see. Like, they're doing some nice things in the portal. Like I said, I'd like to see them add a little bit more sure thing on the pitching side, but just keep stockpiling arms, and let it sort itself out.
Absolutely. Let's hit a break here to stay on the clock. One final segment on TexAgs Live on the other side, and then after that, for the premium subscribers, TexAgs Live Overtime. So we'll get to all that and more. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Garner Schulers. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers. Final segment of the program here on the Zone and YouTube. If you want to catch TexAgs Live overtime, again, head over to TexAgs.com, become a premium subscriber. We'll get to that in about 5 minutes. But Reece over here has been monitoring the YouTube chat, and there's been an interesting discussion.
Yeah, two regular chatters in the YouTube chat have sparked a debate, and they want your opinion, Billy.
Oh.
Is Texas football considered a blue blood?
Hey, they're arguing in our chat whether Texas football is considered a blue blood, when all we've talked about in this show, since I've been on, I don't know what you guys has been, baseball and the NBA finals. How did that happen?
No discussion about
it. Started
blue bloods
when they were talking about Amari Nyblack and talking about players transferring from other schools to Texas to A&M, and said that when Amari Nyblack transferred from Alabama to Texas, that he was transferring from blue blood to blue blood.
And that's okay.
And then that sparked the debate.
You got to be careful what you say, because it will. That is. That bastard who thought it was okay to say that got what he had coming to him, didn't he? No, I struggle with the blue blood and the definition of it. And there's this school of thought, and there's this group of blue blood gatekeepers that I think it's kind of like the college football people. Hey, I'm going to be the person that corners the market on all the COVID coverage and the game cancellations and the positive and negative tests and the rules and and there was this little market, and they just appointed, now I'm going to be the NIL person, or I'm going to be the portal person. There's always this I've found that there's always this weird group of people that want to gatekeep blue blood. Frankly, I don't give a damn enough to really care. I care about who's great in the moment. I'll make a statement like I did about LSU, hey, they're the best program in the country. Some people, historically is what I mean, they're the king of the mountain right now of that discussion. Someone might want to argue with me about it. I'm generally don't care enough to argue whether Texas is a blue blood or not. I will end up in an argument about it by having this conversation, but I do think you can lose blue blood status. You could regain it. And my take on programs like USC, I don't think was Miami ever one. I don't think, but they had 20 amazing years. Does that make you a blue blood? They did it over multiple coaches. I think that's one of the things you have to do. I think LSU is a fascinating argument. 3 national titles under 3 different coaches in a 20-year span, but they sucked for 30 years before that. And they've had a ton of 3-loss, 4-loss even seasons in between those titles. LSU's a tough one, and I think teams like Texas and USC are tough ones. When they go multiple coaches without doing anything. And here's the thing with Texas. They feel like it. They're considered it. I know there more people than not would consider them that. In my opinion, they appear to be on the verge of getting it back. I believe they deserved to not have it. Much like Michigan was, I think, in jeopardy of not having it. When you win one title in 50 years, which is what it is now. It's one national championship in a half a century. So there's nothing to do with A&M. I understand 1939 and how long ago that was. I understand that the Titanic meme is close to coming to fruition. I'm ready for it to get here because I think A&M will win the national title the next year. But no one's arguing right now. These 2 lunatics, texters of the show, thank you for listening. But these lunatics are arguing because of a comment about Amari Nyblack transferring from Bama to Texas has devolved into us on TexAgs radio talking about whether or not Texas is blue blood. So no one's arguing if A&M is, but Texas, to me, lost their card when you win one title in 50 years. They're working, and they could be on the verge of getting it back. We'll see how they do.
TexAgs Overtime coming up. Thank you for listening on The Zone.